All right, welcome back, Hononegah, Algebra 1. Section 1.5, this will be the last section of Chapter 1, so we're cruising right along here, getting throughout the semester, but Chapter 1. The first thing we're going to do is a little bit of a warm-up, and it says find the area, and many of you probably in your middle school days did the area of a rectangle. And there's a formula, and so when we get to the next page and we start talking about formulas, area equals base times height, or area equals length times width. So in this particular picture, the 10 times 4. And so the area of this particular rectangle is 40 square inches. And what we're really starting to get at is what is a formula. And so the next slide that we get into, we're going to talk about formulas. The next one is the word perimeter. Perimeter is distance around an object. So in this case, the perimeter of this particular would be 7 plus 7 plus 7, or 7 or 21 centimeters. So again, area is inside of a particular figure, and usually we have formulas for that. Perimeter is merely adding up all the sides around a figure. So now, next page talks about formulas. What is a formula? The technical definition of a formula is basically one or more variables shown with relationship. So again, area equals base times height. There are more formulas. There's tons of formulas. If you go talk to your parents, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is the Pythagorean theorem, is one of the most famous formulas there is. So again, you probably know many formulas by heart. Area equals pi r squared, and so on. So again, a formula is basically a relationship between one or more variables. Now, many of you may or may not know the area formula for a parallelogram is actually the same as the area formula of a rectangle. It's base times height. So now substitute the given values into the formula. So I am told in the picture that the area is 30 and the height is 5. Solve. Now, solving this, you would divide by 5. The base would have to be 6 inches. Now, solve the formula in part A for B without substituting in the information. So what if I just said, I want to solve this for B? Well, wouldn't you go, I'm going to divide both sides by H, and that kind of throws people. B times H, I'm going to divide by H because that is the inverse operation. So the area divided by the height would equal the base. And so what this allows you to do is you can substitute any area with any height and find the base. Compare how you solve the equations in part B and C. It's done the same way. It's just in part B, I actually had numbers, and in part C, all I was dealing with was the variables. So that is what this section is going to be about. It's going to be about solving, but solving for a particular letter. Okay? You're not actually going to solve it like x equals 5. All right, so here we go. In the one on the left here, okay, x plus 4 equals 6. You would subtract 4 and get x to equal 2. Well, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to subtract n, and I'm going to leave it as r minus n. So these two questions are done in the exact same way. It's just the one on the right is considered what's known as a literal equation. Literal equations have literal equation has 2 or more variables. So now, I equals PRT. This is a simple interest formula. I want to solve it for R. So anytime I'm asking you to solve for a particular letter, you want to isolate that letter, meaning everything else needs to get on the other side. So since it's P times R times T, I'm going to divide by P and T because that is the inverse operation of multiplication. Cancels out the P, cancels out the T, leaving me with just R, and I equals P divided by T. So the next one, I want to solve it for M. Y equals mx plus b. This is what's known as slope-intercept form. So I want to subtract b. So y minus b equals m times x. Again, I'm trying to get m by itself. So I'm going to divide by x so that m equals y minus b divided by x. I am solving these literal equations. So the last example that we have here, m equals d divided by v, solving for v. Well, the v's on the bottom, so I want to go ahead and multiply both sides by v. And then I'm going to, because it's v times m, I'm going to divide by m to get v by itself. So again, all of these equations, I'm going to give you a letter and ask you to solve for that particular letter. 4x plus y is equal to negative 10. Remember, I'm trying to solve this for y. So since it's always do addition and subtraction first, so I'm going to subtract 4x. Now, these two are not alike. Negative 4x and negative 10 are not alike, and therefore I will not add them together. Remember, in a previous lesson, we talked about like terms. Like terms mean you have to have the same letter, same exponent. So again, if they are not alike, don't add them together. So the next one, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. Remember, I'm trying to get y by itself. They are not alike, so I'm going to leave them separate. I have a negative 6x and a positive 12. I'm going to divide by negative 3. Now, I always separate this. So I divide the first one. So negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2x. 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. So again, I always separate. That does not mean you have to. But again, I always separate when dividing. Next one. Remember, I'm trying to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides and divide everything by 6. So I'm going to do it this way. It's the same as the previous one. Instead of just making one big fraction bar, I just divided each one. So 12 divided by 6 would be 2x, and 6 divided by 6 would be 1. Pause right now, pause the video, and see if you can do the next one by yourself. I'm back. All right, let's see if you did this right. You're going to subtract 4x from both sides and divide everything by 3. So y is equal to negative 4/3 x plus 3. So if you did it right, that's what you should have gotten. More equations to solve, and we're going to get pretty complicated here. We're not going to mess around. I have a fraction that's in front of a parenthesis. So I want to get rid of that. I don't want to distribute something that's a fraction. I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides, okay, by 2. So 2a equals h times b1 plus b2. And again, I'm trying to solve this for h. So I don't want to distribute h. I want to get the whole parenthesis. Now remember when I said this, h times b1 plus b2. So I'm going to divide by b1, b2. And so now h equals 2a over b1 plus b2. And that's a hard one. Not going to lie, that one's getting now a little bit upper level. Next one, the area of a rhombus. Again, I don't like the fraction, and I'm trying to solve this thing for d1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. That will help you get rid of the initial fraction. Remember, it's d1 times d2. So I'm going to do the inverse operation and divide by d2. That cancels out d2. So 2a over d1, excuse me, 2a over d2 equals d1. This can be confusing for people because there's no numbers. You're used to solving equations that have numbers in it. Now I'm asking you to solve equations that have letters in it. These are some common formulas. One is the temperature formula. Some of you may or may not know Celsius. Some banks still put Celsius up on their signs. But if you want to convert Fahrenheit into Celsius, this would be the formula we would use. Simple interest, we saw that one earlier. Distance equals rate times time. We talked about that one a couple of days ago. So again, these are some simple formulas. I want to solve the temperature formula for F. Now, this is going to take a little fancy math, but we'll see what happens here. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this. 5/9 F minus 32. So I don't like the fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 9. So 9c equals 5f minus 32. All right, well, I don't like the 5 either. So I'm going to multiply both sides, or excuse me, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. Now, some people would distribute, and that would be correct, but I'm going to go ahead and just divide by 5. So 9c over 5 equals f minus 32, and then I'm going to add 32 to both sides. So that 9c over 5 plus 32 is equal to f. Remember, my only goal is to solve that equation for f. So f on one side, everything else on the other. That's when you know you're done. You deposit $5,000 into an account that earns simple interest. After 6 months, the account earns $162.50. What is the annual interest rate? So they want you to use a formula from the previous page. Now, I or P stands for principal, meaning the initial amount that you're putting in, or what's known as the principal amount that you're putting in. So in this case, the principal amount that you're putting in is 500. R is what we're trying to find. I is what's called interest earned or money earned. So they earned $162.50. Now, this was not very nice. Instead of 6 months, this formula T is in years. So 6 months is actually 0.5 or half a year. So again, they were kind of throwing you on that one. This formula deals with time in years, and so that's half a year. So now, calculator time, or I want to solve this thing for R. So I've got $162.50. 500 times R times 0.5 would be 250 R. And now I wanted to divide. So I want to take 162.50 and divide it by 250. And so R would equal 0.65. Okay, so that is 65% as a rate. Now, by the way, there's no way you're getting, oh, I understand what I did wrong here. Hold on one second. Maybe some of you saw it in the beginning. It wasn't 500, it was supposed to be 5,000. So this is 2,500, which ends up getting you 0.065. So that's a little bit more reasonable. So 0.065, which is 6.5%. Sorry about that. I accidentally put in 500 instead of 5,000. So hopefully all of you guys caught that before me. All right. Truck driver averages 60 miles an hour while delivering freight to a customer. Formula, distance equals rate times time. We know the speed, 60 miles per hour. On the return trip, the driver averages 50 miles an hour due to construction. The total driving time is 6.6 hours. How long does each trip take? So now, I know how fast, so I know the rate. I know the distance is the same, but I know total time, not necessarily time for each one. So T going one direction, okay, so the amount of time going one direction, and then 6.6 minus T is the time going the other direction. So understand about the fact that if I say one direction was T, the other direction would have to be 6.6 minus T. We're going the same distance. So the R and T in one scenario is the same as the R and T in the other. So if I go 60 miles an hour at a rate of T would equal 50 miles an hour at a rate of 6.6 minus T. So again, we know the total time it's traveling. So one way is going to be T and the other way is going to be 6.6 minus that. Solve now. So I have 60 T equals, I'm going to distribute. So 50 times 6.6. Sorry, calculator issue here. There we go. 330 minus 50 T. I need to get the T's on the same side, so I'm going to add 50 T. And I'm going to divide by 110. So T would equal 3. So one direction was 3 hours. Okay, and the other one then was 3.6 hours. Your turn. Again, hit the pause button. All right, welcome back. I will show you, hopefully we'll be checking our answer here. How much money must you deposit in a simple interest formula? The account to earn 500. So again, interest earned or money earned. P is what we're trying to find. We're going at a rate of 0.04. Remember percentages now, you move it 2 decimal places, so it's not 4, it's 0.04 for 5 years. So now, go ahead and multiply. 0.04 times 5 would be 0.20. Divide by 0.20. So again, some of you are going to need to pull out a calculator. 500 divided by 0.25, or excuse me, 0.20 would be 2,500. So you would need to put $2,500 in the bank. Next one, again, hopefully if you need to hit pause again, because you didn't do this one yet. A driver travels 60 miles an hour while delivering freight and 45 miles per hour in return trip. The total driving time is 7 hours. So this is actually very similar to the previous question. 60t would equal 45, 7 minus t. Distribute. So now 45 times 7, so you're going to distribute, would be 315. We want to get the t's on the same side, so you're going to add 45t to both sides. So 105t equals 315. Divide by 105. T would equal 3 hours. So you're going 3 hours one direction. Since it's a 7-hour total trip, you're going 4 hours the other. You have a homework assignment to work on. This is the last assignment of the chapter. We'll deal with the review guide later. Good luck. If you have any questions, please make sure that you talk to your teacher.